Well, good morning, everyone. Looks like we have one participant right now. We'll probably pick up another one or two, and we'll be on our way. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I hope that your luck is running really well today, and that everybody has a great day. Today, having trouble streaming your day. Okay. All right. So I hope everyone is doing well. Like I said, as our Encompass University begins another another chapter in our book. If you have never been to an Encompass University live training, I would encourage you to come and stop by at the next live training. I know they're going to have a training in over in the over in the Texas area. I just got done with a training in Texas. Um, and there are several that are around the state of Florida and the state of Georgia. So they're trying to do as much as they can with training. I hope that like everybody else, uh, Encompass is one of the leading providers both of training and parts. We don't most of our services do not don't charge. There are the lockering class that I just did. There is a charge for that class, but I still encourage you to come, be a participant in the class. I think you'll get a whole lot out of it. So we're gonna move right along. We're gonna try to get through everything today, in our allotted hour. So, like I said, Encompass is the leading provider of original replacement parts after sales services, which is exactly what Encompass University is. One of the things that Encompass has that they do the best of anybody in the business is Easy Stock. Okay, Easy Stock is an app that's on your phone. It helps you keep track of your parts. You can actually take and put things in there that are not really parts. You can, if you've only got one set of gauges, you want to keep track of the gauges. You can actually put them in as a part. If something happens and you buy a part from a different vendor than Encompass, you can still put it in, and you'll be able to keep track of it. Encompass wants your business. We want you need to be. They want you to be the best that you can be. That is one of the things that I really like about Encompass. They're out there for the technician. They're trying to give you things that you need in your day to day business. Okay, everybody. Reggie is not with us today. Um, so we're gonna kind of move on along. One of the things is if we want to go check out on the YouTube app about Easy Stock, you can certainly go ahead and do that. If you'll go to this URL right here, it will actually take you to the Easy Stock program. If you don't want to do all that, all you have to do is type in Encompass Easy Stock application. Um, it'll take you through and it'll find it. Does a great job for helping you to do the best that you can be. Okay. Well, maybe we can get this to work today. Okay, so today is refrigerator training before changing a compressor. Okay, what do I need as a technician to be able to do and not waste time changing a compressor, especially whenever we get out there and somebody's misdiagnosed and it wasn't really the compressor. That does two things. One, it's wasted your time, and number two, it wastes the customer's time and money. So we want to make sure that we check everything before we say, oh, it's a compressor. There's too many other things that can be. I have, like I said, if you don't know me, you know that I've been out on the road for about 15 years. Was the first part of my career, and I actually was a technician. So one of the things that you need to do whenever you're a technician is make sure that you have the right equipment. Make sure that I'm not wasting any of my time. My time is very valuable. We're going to get down on some of the things that we need to take care of before we even think that it's a compressor problem. Okay, we're just going to jump right in. We're going to see if we can't get done with our class today in our allotted hour. Okay, so this is one of the things that I've always asked um, as I became older and got in the business, and I uh, I helped a couple of people start their own company, um, and they've been very successful at it. Okay, whenever a customer calls in for you, the first thing that the office person should ask, or if it's you because you're the one man band like I was for a year, okay, the first thing that I want to know are you actually in front of the refrigerator? Can you open the door and send me a picture of the model number? Okay, you're going to have to tell the customer where that model number is, so you need to know that information also. All right. So, how long have you been experiencing the issue that you're calling about today? You want to make sure that you know everything that you can know before you ever go to the customer's house. It helps your first time completes. It helps you not waste time. We're all about helping you to be the best that you can be. Okay. One of the other questions that you want to ask is the refrigerator, is the freezer section still cold? They say, no, it's not. It's really hot. Then you know that you're going to end up probably having to do something in the freezer section. It may be a defrost bimetal. It may be a defrost heater. It may be that just the excuse me. It may be that just the unit went into a defrost, the drain was plugged, and now it's not cooling properly because the air can't circulate around the air can't circulate around the coils in the evaporator, so that you're actually not getting any cooling. Okay. One of the things is most most refrigerators today have what is called a Yoder loop. Okay, it's this is a heater loop that goes around the outside of the refrigerator, um, around the gasket area, but you can actually feel it if you take and put your hands on both sides. If this is on, you can actually feel the heat. So that's one of the things that you can ask the question to the customer is, if you're make sure that your Yoder loop is on by activating it. Some of them have an electric one, but it still heats the gasket around there. It makes sure that they have no moisture around the gasket area, especially if you live in an area like Florida, where you have a huge moisture issue in the house because the humidity is at 80 or 90%. So just make sure that you ask the questions that you can get a better understanding of what the issues really are. Okay. One of the things that getting back to where we want to talk to the customer. Okay. Are there any obstacles preventing the technician from pulling the refrigerator out? I mean, a perfect example of this is I had one that um, the customer had the island around the refrigerator. You couldn't pull it all the way out because they had put the island in afterwards. It was an afterthought. So they were basically stuck. If they were going to pull that refrigerator, they had to tear part of the wall off so that they could get it out. Okay. So one of the other things you want to know, what kind of flooring is there in front of the refrigerator? Okay. You need to know, do I need to, I'm already going to be careful, but do I actually need to bring somebody with me? Um, many of the companies that I've worked for have had an air sled. Okay. That's one of the greatest things in the world. We're going to get down to it a little bit later. But that if I think that I may run into a damage issue, I want to make sure that I have my air sled or that I bring an extra person. I'm going to let the customer know that it's actually going to be a little bit more expensive because I have to have two men because of the flooring issue. Okay. The other question is, will somebody be there? Will they be present to help the technician unload the contents of the refrigerator? There's nothing worse than getting out to a customer's house. They've just been grocery shopping. They have more groceries in the refrigerator than they're supposed to, and they just have stuff jam packed in. And then you get there, and you have to remove stuff just so that you can get around the refrigerator. Okay, so you need to ask these questions before you ever go to the house. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you get a picture of the model number. That's one of the most important things. It does two things. If I'm like, whenever I ran my own business, my ex-wife helped me, and she would take in, whenever we filed warranty claims, she would make sure that the warranty claim had the correct model and serial number on it. That is about 40 to 50% of rejections, is that the model or serial number is incorrect, or it could be both that are incorrect. So you just want to make sure that you're doing the most that you can to take care of the customer, to make sure that the customer is getting their needs taken care of, and at the same time you're getting your needs taken care of. You won't be in business very long if you have a 40% rejection rate for your claims. Nobody can be in business very long. So it's very important that you know exactly what you're doing. Okay. So what are the five things that I'm going to check if I think that I have a seal system issue? Okay. Number one, I want to check and make sure that it wasn't a power surge. How am I going to find that out? I'm going to ask the customer. You can actually go into one of the brand new refrigerators, and it'll actually tell you. A good example of that is the GE. With a smart HQ device, it'll tell you. It'll literally tell you how long it's been down and how what's wrong with it. Great thing. That's the way the industry is starting to move finally. The number two thing. Okay, so number one was a power surge. Okay, so if they've experienced a power surge, you're going to unplug it. You're going to let it sit for 4 or 5 minutes. You're going to plug it back in. It will reset the board and everything else, and you're ready to go. Okay. Number two, I want to go check and pull the toe plate. I want to look in front, and I want to see if I have dirty condensing coils. That will affect the cooling because it can't circulate the condensing coils. You can't get the air through the condensing coils. You can actually have the compressor go off on an overload because the coils are so dirty. Other thing, that since we're talking about condensing coils, I want to make sure that my fan is running. Okay. These are sometimes wired in with the compressor, so so when the fan is running, the compressor's running. You need to know this information. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that my compressor's running. Okay. How am I going to make sure that there's no that the fan is running with the compressor? So usually I can hear it. Once again, you listen a lot. The refrigerator will tell you a lot. There used to be a show that I watched a lot, and that was called NCIS. And the guy that was the medical examiner was named Mallard, and that he would tell people that the dead people told him so much. Well, if you go to your refrigerator, if you'll listen to your refrigerator, it'll tell you things. You can find things out just by listening to the refrigerator. You can actually, you know, touch the refrigerator, and a lot of the times you can feel the compressor running just by the vibration. Okay, so always listen, see what's going on, touch it. Do you you can smell if I've got a burn smell. It may be that I have a shorted wire. Okay, I just want to be able to listen, and I know where to at least look. If I can smell it, I know that I probably am going to have to pull the refrigerator out, because I probably have something in the that I can smell that is an issue. Okay. um I want to make sure that, number one, the evaporator fan is running, and I also want to make sure the condenser fan is running. Okay. One of the things you need to know is, if I am trying to check and see if the evaporator fan is running, I may have to close the light switch so that I can hear, so that the fan will come on. Many of the times the fan is actually wired today into the switch. So the fan will not run unless the light switch is depressed. Okay. Make sure that there's no obstructions, such as items put in front of the vents, anything stuck in the ice, not allowing the unit to circulate the air. Same thing about with the condensing. Okay, the condenser coils, same thing. Okay, if it can't move the air around it, you're never going to get this thing to cool. Okay. One of the other things is the seal system issue. Okay. And it may not be that I have a system leak. Okay. It may not have, I could have a restriction in the system because moisture has gotten in, and now I have a blockage in my refrigerator. So just make sure that you're out there, you're looking, you're talking to your, well, don't do like I do, talk to myself. Okay. Listen to what the refrigerator is telling you. Listen to it, and keep looking for it. Okay. So one of the most important things that you can do as a technician is make sure that I have the right information coming up, getting on the from the that I get from the model and serial tag. Okay. That is, I can't get paid if I'm under warranty with a bad model and serial number. Okay. If I'm out of warranty and I'm thinking that I've got a seal system, I've got so much stuff right there on that tag that tells me, okay, this is what kind of Freon is in it. This is how much Freon is in it. If I'm going to be checking the heater to make sure that the heater's coming on, it will tell me the voltage that I'm getting from the heat. You need to just make sure that you get all the information down, and get it right. Whenever I was a technician, and I learned this whenever I finally started getting a um, a cell phone. Uh, I'm so old that whenever I first started, there was nothing. There wasn't a cell phone. We had two-way radios that we communicated with. Um, but it this cell phone, I can take a picture of it, and that way I'm sure that I have the correct model number. I have the correct serial number. If I need to know how many ounces of Freon there are in it, I get that from the model and serial plate. The model and serial plate is so important. that I need to make sure that like I said, I take a picture of it and I know that I've got all the information correct. Okay. So what kind of information is contained on the model and serial plate? Okay. There's the model number, there's the serial number, there's the type of refrigerant that's used, there's the amount of refrigerant that's in this system. It gives me the electrical wattage. It gives me the defrost wattage. Using Ohm's law to determine the key information to get your job done properly. We're going to reach out and touch Ohm's law again. That is one law that you need to actually make sure that you're very familiar with it, because you can do so many things with Ohm's law. Okay, this right here is actually an Electrolux Frigidaire refrigerator. This is actually the one in my at my home. Okay, so if you look on the left hand side, okay, it gives me the model number, the ERMC 2295AS. Okay, it gives me the excuse me, the serial number. Okay, the other thing that it tells me the date that it was manufactured. This is not the day that it was installed. This is just the date that it was manufactured. Okay, right here has got my electrical ratings. It tells me that I'm pulling 13 amps, 121 volts, and 60. It tells me that it's 60 hertz. If you get I had a customer that came from Great Britain, and it was a 50 hertz system. It won't work on a 60 hertz system, so they had to go buy a refrigerator. Okay, as we continue down the list, it gives you the supply type. It gives you the defrost power wattage. Okay, it gives me what kind of agent was blown into the refrigerator that's around the outside. That is what they use for whenever I first came out. It was almost like the wall insulation was what was in the refrigerator. Now it's cyclone. I can't pronounce that. But it tells me what's in the system. Why is that information good? I may be getting a false reading because of what was blown in insulation. They have to whenever they use the foaming agent, it may give you a false positive because, excuse me, because it may be a refrigerant type. So just make sure that you've got everything you need and that you're checking everything. Okay. The next thing down that it checks is the refrigerant. Okay. What is it? Mine is R600A. Okay. Then it tells me how much charge is in it. Okay. My refrigerator has 90 grams of R600 in it. Everybody knows R600 is highly flammable. Please do not take a torch and jump into the refrigerator. Fire that bad boy up, because about 50 to 70% of the refrigerant is still in the compressor. One of the guys that I just trained, one of the technicians was brand new. He just he undid it with he vacuumed it out, unsweated it. Whenever he popped the suction line, well, boom! It literally, luckily, it wasn't in a customer's home. It was in their shop, and it burned the shop down. Okay, make sure that you're doing everything to keep yourself safe. Okay. One of the other things that it tells you is where it was made. Okay, this one is made in Thailand. Okay, so if you have any questions for right now, I'm gonna exit full screen so that I can answer any questions that we have so far? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no. Okay, so as we keep going, where's my model and serial plate located? There are so many different places. They've tried to standardize. Um, Most of the manufacturers for home appliances today have, whenever it comes to today's models, they are literally usually on the left or the right side of the wall. Um, this one is an older Sub-Zero. This older Sub-Zero, the model plate is behind this actual plate where the light switch is. So you're going to have to take that down to be able to get the model and serial information off of it. Okay, that's the Sub-Zero. This is a Kenmore. Kenmore. I'll spit out in a minute. We all know that Kenmore is made by one of the other manufacturers. Okay, but this one on this new Kenmore has it just exactly where it is in the in a Frigidaire refrigerator, okay, or a Whirlpool. They're both usually right here on the left or on the right in the refrigerator section. Okay, the old Kenmore, if you see the toe kick down here on the very bottom, in the old Kenmore, there was a plate that was under there that's where your model and serial number and your refrigerant and everything else that you needed was under that. You have to make sure that you know where you're at. One of the things that you may want to do before you go out there, if you know what the model number is, you may want to look it up. If it's a Kenmore, I may go to the website, type in Kenmore refrigerator model number, and ask where it's located. It's such a great thing to have the internet nowadays. It does so much for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about can you really get damage on a floor if you think that you're doing the best that you can to and you're careful. Yes, I will tell you right now, if you're not careful, even if you are being super careful, there are some things that are just out of your control. Okay, one of the things is you don't know if you whenever you get under there and start looking, there are so many things that you can miss that you don't see that can cause damage to a floor. It could be that the customer has kicked something up under there, and if I don't pay close attention, whenever I pull the refrigerator out, I'm scratching the floor as I'm pulling it out. Okay, that's why you need to make sure that you are actually using everything that you need to do. Okay, this is examples of floor damage from my personal file. Okay, this is one of the technicians that I had that was working on a wood floor. This one actually is a range, but whenever they pulled it out, whenever there was something underneath the the drawer for the range, and that's what caused all these scratches. Okay, the one in the very center. This is a very cheap piece of of linoleum, and that literally is a refrigerator that pulled it. Whenever he pulled it out, that's what happened. It was just so cheap. So I've got to use flooring to keep me from damaging things. Okay, our number one enemy is water. Okay, on the picture on the right, that's what that is. It's showing that that it's water damage. I can ruin cabinets. I can ruin the whole right here around this refrigerator. Many of them have the refrigerator that's in a cabinet. So make sure that whenever you're pushing it back, that you have no water coming out, because this one had water coming out and ended up costing the floor for the person that had it. That was their problem. Okay. what kind of flooring protection are there? The main three. Okay, there's other flooring protection. Okay, I used to have a piece of Formica, and I could use that Formica for a for a to put under like the left side here, the one on the picture on the very left. I could use that and use that, but as I got to be a technician and I got more experience and more experience, it was a whole lot easier for me to carry this piece on the far left. This is a solid piece of floor protection. If you're not really careful and you don't take care of it, it gets scratched up, and you can actually cause you can all you can cause floor damage, even because you didn't take care of this um, as your protection, your floor protector. Okay. One of the things that I did like is the one in the center. I always had one of these on my truck. If I thought that I was going to have a problem, I made sure that I at least had that, because I can actually slide this up under where the wheels are, and I can pull that straight out, and it helps me protect the floor. Does it totally work all the time? No, it doesn't. That's the reason you need to know just exactly where I'm at, and I'm making sure that I am not going to damage the floor. Okay, the one on the far right, that is the all-time best. Okay, whenever these first came out, they were over $1,800. They're down now to, I think I saw it on Amazon for about 800. So they've almost half the price. Okay, this is basically a vacuum cleaner in reverse, and it's the two pods over here on the sides. They go up under the refrigerator. You turn that on, which is why it's got a switch right there. That will lift anything from a refrigerator to a washing machine full of water. It'll take care of anything. Make sure that if you can get one and you can convince somebody to buy that, make sure that you buy it. That is a fantastic piece of equipment. That's if one floor and you've already paid for that. That's what I told people whenever I was buying it. It's the way I got my boss whenever I was young to do this. Is if we damage one floor, number one, that's one too many. But we can prevent it by using this air sled. We did buy one, and whenever somebody went out and they had a refrigerator or a washer or a range, and they thought they were going to need it, whoever did it had that on the truck. Okay, so let's talk about whenever I show up at the house. Okay, so whenever I get to the house, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have all of my PPE equipment. Okay, it's funny because I just was traveling last week, and whenever I got to the Atlanta airport, there was a sticker as you walked through the area, and it said, it was a picture of a man, and it showed all the PPE equipment. At this time, it was a hard hat. He had gloves. He had a vest was reflective. That's all kinds of PPE that is out there. Okay, what am I going to make sure that I have whenever I'm a technician and I'm going into the house? I always want to make sure that I have booties over my shoes. If I leave the house to go get something out of my truck, I need to remove my booties, go to what I'm going to do, come back, put my booties back on, and I'm gonna keep the floor of the customer's home protected. A lot of the times you're gonna need a set of gloves. Depends on what I'm working on. One of the things that I can tell you is, um, I have worked for Electrolux, which was Frigidaire, and I worked it whenever they used to the excuse me, the dryers were made by Schick Razor Company. If you didn't come out with at least one cut, you felt like you hadn't done something right. That it was so. Please take care of yourself. There's nothing worse than, and all technicians have done it. You've cut yourself. You looked. There's nothing around. So what do? I grab a paper towel and a piece of electrical tape, and I strap it on until I can get out to the truss to keep from bleeding all over the customer's house. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I've got booties. If I think I'm going to need gloves because I've got something that I'm wondering that I might cut myself, I'm going to wear gloves. Okay, I want a area protection for my tools. I had a kid that walked into a brand new home. The customer hadn't lived there for 2 months. Took his tool bag and tossed it up on top of the countertop, and ended up damaging a countertop that was $10,000. It was a single piece marble countertop. Please make sure that you're not causing yourself issues. Okay. So I get to the house. Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones, somebody answers the door. I make sure, number one, that there is going to be somebody that is at least 18 years old. Your company may be okay with that. Your company may be the same way that I was whenever I owned my own company. If it was under 18, we did not go in. We plain and simple. I am not going to have that responsibility because I have enough problems than little Johnny or little Susie says, "Oh, Mom, while the guy was here working on the appliance, they stole so and so." I had this happen, okay? And I knew that the guy never stole anything. He was too honest. But we played the dickens convincing the customer because it was little Johnny that told her that somebody had stolen her ring. What ended up happening? Little Johnny gave it to his girlfriend. That's what ended up in the very end. But getting that through to the customer, we almost had a lawsuit. It was ridiculous. So we never went in. From that day on, we never went in if it was under 18. And there's times that I still didn't want to go in. If something's shady, I don't want to do it. There's nothing that I'm going to, even though I have insurance, all it does is jack my insurance rates up. Okay. Make sure that somebody over 18 is going to be there. Okay. Then whenever I get the customer in there, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to verify the complaint because too many times, if you've been there like I have, you look at the ticket and the ticket says broke, not working. Well, that as a technician, that doesn't tell me anything. You might as well say only works on Mars. That doesn't work. I have to know what's broken. At least give me the area that it's broken in. Okay. Then I'm going to double check once again the model and serial information. Okay. I'm at the house. I'm going to physically check it off, and I'm probably going to take a picture of it just so that I'm totally convinced that I have the right model and serial number. There's a manufacturer out there that will, whenever they get a claim, the first thing they do is reject it. Okay. They want to see if they can not have to pay. That's wrong, but it happens. Okay. Make sure that you have the backup so that you can actually send them a picture and say, this is the right model and serial number. You're wrong. Okay. So I'm going to work from the front of the refrigerator as much as possible. I'm going to do everything that I can do, okay, from the front of the unit. I don't want to have to pull this unit out. Whenever I pull the unit out, I open the risk of either it having water damage because it's been sitting there for 20 years, or today's refrigerators, it's been sitting there for 4 or 5 years and it's got a plastic line on it, and as soon as I start to pull it out, that plastic line ruptures and I've got a flood because there's nothing to stop the water. Okay, make sure that you're doing everything you can. I used to tell my technicians, if I'm going to pull this refrigerator, I'm turning the water off. It's a whole lot easier for me to go down and turn the water off, whether I have to go to the basement and turn it off because it's on one of those stupid pinch valves, or if it's under the sink. I can do that a whole lot easier than having to worry about having to mop things up, putting towels down. If I go and I close that water valve and I pull that refrigerator out and I turn that refrigerator on, I can hear the water run. I know listening. That's what I keep saying. We're going to get back. Okay. Listen to what the refrigerator is telling you. Okay. If moving their product is required, always protect the flooring. That's number 2. Number 1 is I always protect myself. Okay. Then what I try to do as a technician, I try to divide the product in half. Okay. What I mean by that is if I think that I have a defrost issue, okay, well, I'm not going to worry about the fact that the Icemaker is not working, because if I have a defrost issue, I don't need to worry about the Icemaker. Yeah, the Icemaker doesn't work. It's because that there's something else. Okay, make sure that I'm going to do what I can, divide that product in half, and go down from where it's at. I can do a better job of taking care of the customer. Okay. If I get a complaint for the not cooling, okay, the first whenever I get to the customer's home, I'm going to open the freezer door to check and see if the back panel is frosted. If so, I'm going to put the unit in defrost. I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen for a sizzle sound in the back. Okay. One of the other things is I can look to see if the frost pattern goes away after about 5 minutes. If no, then I'm going to have to pull all the stuff from the freezer and use a meter to check the bimetal, check the heater. I'm going to have to make sure that I don't have anything in the drain pan assembly. So I'm going to have to pull things out. This is why the question before was, is there going to be somebody there that can help me unload the freezer, the refrigerator if need be? Okay. Always make sure that you have all your bases covered. The customer may say, I can't do that. But then at that point, I can tell the customer, that's fine. I'm bringing somebody with me. It's going to be a little bit more money, but we'll get it taken care of for you because we want you to be happy. Okay. If there's no frost on the back panel, fill the sides of the refrigerator like we said before. I want to see if it's warm. If my refrigerator is warm, I know that I've got Freon in it. Okay. It may be a little low on charge, but I know at least it's working. My compressor's trying to work. Okay. So I feel the other side of the refrigerators. If not, if I don't feel that, I am going to have to pull it out. If I listen and I can hear that compressor running, or I hear the compressor not working, and I know for a fact that it is actually actually in cool mode, not in defrost mode, I'm going to have to pull that refrigerator out and take a look and figure out why it's not why it's not cooling. So, okay. One of the things that I can do whenever I pull that refrigerator out and take out, depends, there's not nearly as many screws as there used to be. Whenever I first started, there were about 15 screws in the back of around the plate. They were metal. It was a metal plate, and there were metal 1/4-inch screws. That kept your forearms good and tight all the time from unscrewing and screwing things in. Okay, so after I do that, after I take all of that back from the back panel, I'm going to feel the compressor to see if it's running. Feel the suction line. I can touch the discharge line quickly just to see if it's actually trying to cool. Okay, I'm gonna check the board. Okay, I'm going to verify that I actually have power to the compressor. So the first thing I'm going to do before I check the board probably is I'm going to go down and see if I have power to the coming to the compressor. If I don't have power coming to the compressor, I have either a board issue or it's in the defrost. So you just need to make sure that you're dividing it in half and moving along. Okay. If I end up and I have no power coming into the compressor, okay, I know that I either have there's no power to the unit at all. But I would have already determined that that's not the case, because whenever I open the refrigerator door, if the light comes on, I know that I have power to the refrigerator. Okay, so I'm going to do that before I even start to move the refrigerator. Okay, I can actually close the door switch and see if the fan comes on. Your evaporator fan should come on if you close that door switch. Okay, if I'm there and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna listen before I pull it out, because I can actually hear to see if it kicks off on an overload. It's a very distinctive sound. If you've done it very long, you know that sound. You know, hey, it's kicking off on an overload. I have another problem, but it could probably, besides the compressor. Usually, it's the condenser fan motor, or that the coils are so dirty that it's kicking it off on overload, because it's not getting the air moving around inside. Okay. So I'm going to check the board to verify power to the compressor. I'm going to remove the compressor panel and use a meter to determine the voltage, make sure that I've got the right voltage to my compressor. I'm going to check the compressor components, make sure that they're all working and that they're correct. Check the compressor for a short to ground issue. This is one of the old style. I still have this this refrigerator sitting out on the back porch of my house. This is the most simple thing in the world. This one has a defrost heater, a fan motor, a compressor, a cold control, and a defrost timer. Okay. So power comes in. Okay. It goes to the defrost timer. The defrost timer, if it's closed, then I'm going to check my defrost thermostat and my defrost heater. I'm not going to have any fan motor, no compressor, no cold control, none of that. It'll be in the defrost timer. Okay. If I get there and I don't have any power coming from the defrost timer to the defrost thermostat, then I'm going to go and check the line that goes from the line that goes to the cold control. I'm going to make sure that I've got power to the cold control. Okay, that tells me that it's not into the frost mode; it's in the fan mode. And I have had a whole lot of I've replaced the defrost timer about twice on the refrigerator that I currently have, that's sitting out on the garage. Okay, these are one of the problems for one of these small refrigerators. the old style stuff still works like a charm. Okay. This is the old style, and then we start to get better, and we get in. Here's one for the whirlpool side by side. Okay. You've got a damper assembly included in this now. I've got an evaporator fan, which I had in the other one. I have the coil heater, the defrost thermostat. I have a condenser fan, the compressor, and then I have this, what is called an adaptive defrost control. This adaptive defrost control handles everything. So I'm checking power in, power out. That's all I worry about. Power in, power out. If I've got power in and I'm good, then I know that I need to go to one of the other circuits. I need to go either to the defrost heater, the defrost thermostat, or it could be that I need to go to the evaporator fan or the damper assembly. That'll all tell me the compressor information. Make sure that I've got power to the compressor. This is the next step. Now the most complicated is this Samsung RF18E. This is the brand new one from Samsung. Okay. If you look at all the junctions here, it will drive you crazy. So I'm going to stick with basics. Okay. I go power in. Where is my power coming from? Okay. I'm going to find that. I'm going to check, make sure that I have power coming into the board. If I have power coming into the board, I know that I've got either a defrost problem, or defrost issue somewhere in the defrost system, or I have something like the cold control that's bad. But it's this board that's bad. So you need to check and make sure you have all of that information, okay, before I get too deep into it, or else I'll end up spinning my wheels and spend an hour on here when I could have been a simple power in, power out. Okay. I know that I've got one of two spots. Okay. I've either got a defrost that I need to be powering, or I have the cooling that I need to be powering. That's all I'm going to check. That tells me that my power is that it's good. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Well, maybe it'll work. Okay. I'm going to take just a minute on Ohm's law. Okay. This is the most important law as a technician whenever I'm talking about how do I find out if I'm getting the right voltage? How do I have if I know the voltage, if I have the amps, the current, in an amp, over a volt, I know exactly what the ohms resistance should be. Okay. And the only reason I know that is because of Ohm's law. Okay. The one on the left side is the one that's a little harder to understand. The one on the right side tells you exactly what it is. Okay. If I look at the top equation, that is volts equals what is I? Okay. What was I? Okay. I is amps. What's R? Okay. That would be ohms. That would be your resistance. Okay. So my V equals I times R. Okay. If I want to know what my amps are, all I do is divide the volts by the resistance, or the ohms. Volts by resistance, or ohms, equals amps. Okay. If I want to learn the ohms, I'm going to go volts divided by amps tells me my ohms, what kind of ohms I should be reading. Okay. Very simple. This equation right here, I had this equation. I had a piece of plastic laminate. I had laminated it and put it on my 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 box that I kept with me at all times that had my tickets. Okay, what are some of the other issues that we need to talk about? Other common issues in the refrigerator that mimics a not cooling issue: ice in the drain area. Okay, if I have ice and it freezes up into a block, I am not going to get any cooling at all. Okay, it's not, the compressor's working as hard as it can, and it's just got no circulation, and you're not going to get any. You're not going to have. Excuse me. You are not going to have a cooling. Okay. Most of the time, the freezer has got a little bit of cooling in it, not a lot. I got a little bit, but the refrigerator has no cooling, because it's all related. It all pushes air from the freezer to the refrigerator, unless you have one of the dual cooling systems, and that is with a valve, and then you have to make sure that the valve is working properly. Okay, so one of the going back to the clogged issues. Okay, you can find all kinds of things in there that has clogged this up. I found peas, I found corn, I found little pieces of plastic from wrappers, okay, that get down in the drain area, and they stop it up, and that causes it not cool. Okay, that's what the customer perceives. It's really that little Johnny threw his bag of corn in there, and it went all over the place, and it's migrated to the drain pan. Okay, so what I've got to do now is I've got to empty everything out. I've got to make sure that I get everything out. If that's my case and the drain is clogged, I'm going to have to empty it out. I'm going to have to use my steamer. Um, One of the guys told me that he uses his wet dry vac whenever he's doing that. I used to just take a pail and towels, and I would line on the bottom. I would line the area and get them so that I could get the water up. Okay, so I'm going to play. I just said what we did. Okay, so if you do this, it's the issue is the drain. You need to show the customer. Okay, Miss Jones, this is what your problem was. This is why it was the way that it is. You need to, in the future, put everything in a Ziploc bag so that you can lock it up and keep it so that you don't get all of this laying around. One of the other things that I've found is stickers on the meat. They'll come off whenever they heat and cool. They'll get out, and they'll get separated with package, and I have problems. So you need to show this to customers. At my house, I'm not real great about it. My dad is super great about it, because he takes everything and puts it in a bag that sucks all the air out, which is a whole lot better and makes food last a whole lot longer than if I just take and throw it from the whenever I buy it into the freezer. Okay. Let's talk about noises. Noises is something that will drive a technician absolutely crazy. Customer will call you and tell you, I've got this funny noise that happens. It happens to me at 2:00 in the morning. You go, okay, well, the only thing I can ask you to do is record it. And you have to get there, and most of the time it's something. I had my dad call me the other night and say, hey, listen, I've got this really weird sound. What can you tell me what it is? And I go, well, is it doing it now? No. Okay, I need you to record it. Whenever you start recording it, then call me back, and I'll listen to it and see if we can't figure out what it is. He has a Samsung refrigerator, and his problem in his Samsung, whenever it goes into a freeze, whenever the Icemaker starts to cycle, for some reason you don't hear it in the day, but whenever it's at night and it's really quiet, that's whenever you lose it. Okay. So that's some of the things, some of the noises that you're going to hear. You're going to need to make sure that you've got them all done. Okay. Some guys use a pocket thermometer. Most of the people know how to do it. Water freezes, water cools, water turns from a liquid to a solid, and vice versa. And so, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to take a glass of water, a glass of ice, put some water in it. I'm going to check my. I'm going to make sure that I have 32 degrees on my thermometer, and I'm all set, and it runs properly. Okay. So, what happens to my evaporator? It's still frozen. I'm going to put it back into defrost. I'm going to see if the heater comes on. Look at the defrost bimetal. Make sure that it's opening. If it's not, that's your problem. If that's not the problem, and I make sure that my heater is good, I got a timer issue. I'm going to have to replace it. Okay. Once again, we just talked about ice in the drain pan already. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? We're almost through. Okay. What if my evaporator coil is frozen on the side? One part of it could be at the top, at the bottom, could be on one edge. That usually tells me that I have a leak in the system. Okay. So now I've got to figure out where my leak is. Okay. What tools will I need if I'm going to have to diagnose a compressor failure? Okay. I'm going to need assorted hand tools, a cordless drill, assorted bits. I need an amp meter. I need a torch. I need gauges. I need a recovery system, and I need a process tube adapter kit. Okay. After determining it's the compressor failure, what are the most common compressor issues? Okay. Before you even pull the compressor, you may be able to fix it if I have a bad overload or I have a bad start winding. If I have a locked rotor, I'm going to have to replace the unit. Replace the compressor. Okay. So number one, the heart of the refrigerator is the compressor. Basically, the compressor does nothing but move things, just like your blood in your heart. Your heart moves blood throughout your whole body. Okay. If I have something that is leaking, just like your heart, we have problems. Okay. So here's what a compressor actually looks like whenever it is cut apart. This is the top cut off of the compressor. Okay. So what does the compressor do? If you look right here, it comes in through the suction line, flows across the motor, comes under. There's a suction valve that opens and closes. The primer on the motor, all it does is look like a piston, and it moves. Whenever that piston starts to move back in, it closes that suction valve. That discharge valve opens, and it pushes the freon out. Okay, that's basically all a compressor does. It's why I call it a heart. Okay, if I have to get at anything, I've got to get this little box off. It can be the most difficult thing that you do. Okay, you just still have to get it off. Make sure that you can, if you need help, YouTube is out there. YouTube is a great tool. It will tell you exactly how and show you. Okay, components that are in that little box. There are two components. There's an overload. There's two styles of overload. There's a solid state overload, and then the old style overload. The other one that I have here is a start relay. This is a solid state relay. It's a little different than the other relay.